Welcome to the Autosportradio.com 2022 show. I'm your host, Don Kay. We are coming to you today from the Speedway Cable TV offices. Autosport is sponsored by the NTT IndyCar Series, the SVRA, McGilvery's Pub and Eatery in Speedway, and VP Insurance in Speedway. I want to remind you, if you've made a decision to get your teeth and dental work done with the New Year's resolution, I highly recommend you do it. I recommend the Indy Dental Group. You will love them. We go there, and the people they have are spectacular. They're located at 9310 Meridian Street, Suite 200. You can call, make an appointment. I recommend it. Believe me, we go. They are phenomenal. Number is 317-846-6125. Dr. Jack Miller, a 500 veteran, and his wife, Dr. Liz Lewis, have a spectacular practice. So check it out. And if you want to know everything that's going on with the teams and the drivers and who's where, you got to subscribe to Trackside Online. Just go to tracksideonline.com and subscribe. It's not that expensive, and you'll get all the information you could possibly want from that. The Indy Racing Experience, a great way to find out why these guys and gals like driving these cars, Indy cars. You can go to indyracingexperience.com and find a date that works for you for the upcoming season and enroll in the promo box, put DK1 and you'll get a 50% discount. That's indyracingexperience.com. You can call the office at 317-243-7171. Talk to Sean. Is it time to renew your insurance? Well, the insurance commissioner recommends that you every so often check to make sure that you're getting the best price. And I highly recommend, and most of us have gone there, to VP Insurance. They're located at 5004 West 16th Street in the town of Speedway. Give a call to Mike Pardee or Tom. The number is 317-248-0070. Tell them what you're looking for, what you'd like, and they'll take care of you. That's 317-248-0070. They're located in Speedway, just about a mile and a half west of the Speedway at 5004 West 16th Street. And if you're a vintage car fan, a Trans Am fan, you've got to go to svra.com, subscribe to Speed Tour magazine. It's great, tells you everything that's going on. You can see the schedule, where they're going, and if they're anywhere that you could drive, I highly recommend you go to one of their events. They are spectacular. My guest today is a gentleman that I've had the pleasure of knowing for the last few years. He is the owner and CEO, I believe, at SVRA. He is now the owner of Trans Am, which is amazingly coming back to life very rapidly, and the Formula Regional, which he has run by Scott Goodyear. My guest, of course, is Tony Parella. Tony, fans think off season, while everybody goes on vacation, they lay in the sand and drink Mai Tais. That's not the case. In order to get 23 events organized, you spend all the off season getting it done.
Yeah, we haven't had many umbrella drinks over the last few months. We've been head down, as you say, to prepare for 23 weekends of racing, on top of which to manage the staffing, the sponsorship that we've been fortunate enough to raise, getting the inter event schedules done, coordinating everything from grand marshals to what we're eating on Saturday night at banquets. It's a lot. My team, thankfully, is just working really hard to make sure the fan experience is special, make sure that the driver experience is special. And of course, we've added car shows to our events. This thing has just taken on a life of its own, but it's, we're doing well. I'm grateful when you consider what, the country and businesses have been through over the last couple of years, to be in the event business in the facing a worldwide pandemic, to come out of it the way we have, and is all this uncertainty, to not have had to lay off a single employee and manage and navigate all that stuff. I'm delighted, but it comes with a pretty healthy dose of hard work, that's for sure.
Since you have taken over Trans Am, it's amazingly come back to life. You've got a huge entry list, and the fans are really glomming onto it as they did years ago.
Yeah, let me give you to show how far it's come. The series was formed in 1966, and at our last season-ending race at Circuit of the Americas last year, we actually had 82 entries, which is a number. We had, we have two different races within a weekend, two features. And they're really different. If you look at one race group, which is Trans Am 2 or TA2, it's known as, that is a spec series. A brand new car out of the wrapper costs about $125,000, $130,000, which in today's world for professional racing is a relatively inexpensive race car. It's spec racing that all the cars are the same, and it's really on the drivers to do their thing. And it's that section of our Trans Am is just off the charts for growth. To put it in perspective, we have 49 TA2 cars signed up already for Sebring for next week's race. So that'll be a phenomenal feature. It's the biggest TA2 race we've ever had at Sebring. And then the other side of Trans Am, what I remember is the unlimited, basically, horsepower that these cars carry. There's a very loose box that they have to fit in. Weight and displacement are about the only two things we measure, and they got to all be on the same set of tires. But other than that, if you can build it, you can race it. And you see these cars are just unbelievable how fast they are. And it's kind of cool that we appeal to both sides of racing. One group is, where I grew up, you wanted to encourage development and tricks of the trade, if you will. On the other side of the equation, we got spec racing to have a very level playing field. So we got something there for both types of philosophies of racing. And Trans Am is just, John Claggett, who runs Trans Am, has done a masterful job of navigating the growth of the series. And I'm just thrilled at where we are with it.
You have Scott Goodyear running a series for you for up and coming drivers. What is that? And you own that now.
It's funny you say that, John. I mean, so many young kids that have aspirations to go to the cup level of NASCAR, with the emphasis that NASCAR has put on road racing and the number of events that they do for road racing. This is a great starting point of professional racing to get through a routine, get in a regiment, but also hone their skills with nowhere near the financial responsibility or the skill set yet. We bring them along to get them ready. And I'm seeing a lot of these kids that are racing with us have aspirations to run in the cup, in cup level or NASCAR level. And it's a great starting point for them.
And having Scott Goodyear, a veteran himself, as a coach and teacher, it's got to be spectacular.
Well, the job Scott's done on Formula Regional and Formula 4, with his IndyCar experience and all of his racing experience, he's teaching the kids how to stay within themselves, understand the car, let the car talk to you. Just the insight that he brings, the pre-testing before they get to a weekend, he gives them a written exam. I mean, he really puts in the hours to get these kids ready. I don't know another place in racing, if that kid has open wheel aspirations to race in the biggest stage of a Formula One or IndyCar anywhere, going through and working with Scott is invaluable. These kids are really getting a gift from his years of experience and his focus on just bringing them along at the right pace so they're not in over their head and they really are aware of what's going on.
Is this a stepping stone to the Road to Indy program, or are you above that?
No, Road to Indy is a different group. It's not our organization. Our group is really Formula 4 and Formula Regional. But to put in perspective, we have kids come out of here that do join up and go into Indy Lights. So as an example, Ernie Francis Jr. raced in my FR series last year with Scott as the race director. And also Ernie Francis had a long storied history in Trans Am. Well, he just got signed to run in Indy Lights this year. So hopefully he's one lung of the ladder away from the big show at Indianapolis. And honestly, I think the kid's got a chance to do it. He's special.
He's won about everything he's gotten himself into. He straps into a car, and you got to watch out. He's likely to win.
Yeah, he's good. He's the real deal. And I think having, the experience he picked up last season running with us in FR, he stepped into an open wheel car really for the first time to race competitively. He raced with the SRX series that Ray Everham put together with Tony Stewart. And so he got some real exposure. And, by halfway through the season, he had won a race at Mid-Ohio, then he won a couple other events. So he's the real deal. But I think we're just laying a really good foundation for these kids that want to go to the next step, whether it's cup level with Trans Am 2 or IndyCar or Formula One, to do it with my F4 series or FR series. We have a place for them to hone their skills and learn in a reasonable, I underline the word reasonable, budget. It's not, there's no form of racing that's inexpensive, but this certainly is as good as it gets in this environment.
All of this started when you got involved with SVRA, and you have taken that up to where you wanted to be, and probably even going, you want to go even farther.
Don, I'm sorry, this connection's really bad. You froze up in the middle of that and I didn't catch your question.
So since you've taken over SVRA, your goal was to make it a mainstream event, and it's approaching that. It's getting to that point.
Yeah, I mean, September, hard to believe, will be my 10-year anniversary of buying SVRA. And, the plan coming in was really simple. My goal was to elevate vintage racing into a national footprint that had a seat at the table as part of mainstream motorsports in America. And honestly, before I decided to jump in, I studied what Bill France did to stock car racing. I studied what Wally Parks did to drag racing, where they were a fragmented weekend warrior type business. And frankly, that's a lot of what vintage racing was. And so I kind of replicated or tried to replicate what they did to build the sport. And, we're just, here we are 10 years in, and I feel like I haven't even scratched the surface of what this will become. We've had amazing growth with 23 events. We've built the Speed Tour platform and the Speed Tour magazine. We're live streaming our events now. None of those things were even thought about 10 years ago, but yet I think the cornerstone of our growth really came on two major events. What we won in your backyard at IMS with the Brickyard Invitational, and then the other one is down at Circuit of the Americas in Texas for our national championship race at the end of the year. And those two events seem to draw people that we don't normally see on a regional basis. They all came together at those two national events. And that really was our springboard to grow the other events that we have. So now racing at Sonoma, Laguna Seca, Road America, Mid-Ohio, Coda, Indy, Sebring, Watkins Glen, VIR, it just goes on and on. And I'm just, I'm delighted with our progress. But we're a work in progress. We're nowhere near ready to pop the champagne corks that we've arrived. We got a lot of work to do yet.
But, the interesting thing is you are this year coming back to Indianapolis, and you have invited another series to join us.
Yeah, they're just going to be a feature race. And, I'm always messing with the recipe when we put on events to try to improve them, make them different, make them exciting. I don't like to do the same thing over and over again. I don't think it's good for the fans. I don't think it's good for the business. I think you have to constantly evolve. And we first, to be back at IMS is, that's as good as it gets for us. And when we cracked the code several years ago to go there, we figured we would go on every year. Well, that was before there was a thing called COVID-19. And when COVID hit the US, if you follow racing, There was so much uncertainty as all kinds of business, but the number one thing is, at IMS is that first and foremost is the 500 and for obvious reasons. So in 20, with about 6-8 weeks before our event, I got a call from Doug Bowles saying, hey, we're gonna have to move our 500 date and we don't have certainty, and I know we have a contract, but we don't know what's going on. We think it's best that you don't come. And needless to say, I was heartbroken that we couldn't hold our event, but certainly understandable that if somebody got sick or so much uncertainty in their space, if somebody got sick on our weekend and it cost IMS the 500, that's a bad recipe. So I just on a handshake said, don't worry about it. Well, then last year, when we were laying out the schedule, it was still so much, as there is today, so much uncertainty with COVID. I a second year in a row said it's okay. But then thankfully, getting ready for this season, Doug and Roger were very gracious and said, yeah, of course we want you back. And so here we are. And, now it looks like even with the variant, it looks like things are calming down. We're going to be able to hold events outside. We're so much further along than we were 2 years ago. So to be back at IMS is delightful. And we're having to pay tribute to the cars. I'm going to focus on a handful of areas this year that I haven't done in the past. We're number one, vintage cars. Any car that's raced in IndyCar or in the 500, we want to have a specialized group for them. And so we expect a pretty hefty turnout of all historic cars that have run in IndyCar and in the Indy 500. So I'm excited about that group. We're going to put them in gasoline alley garages. We're going to build displays. It's going to have a different feel than we've had in the past, a bigger emphasis on that. We have the Shelby Club of America's having a national meet in our event. So if they're a Shelby fan, there'll be a huge concentration, not only as a Concours car show, a car show, and then of course a race, a full-blown Shelby race, which should be a blast. And then we have, we're doing a feature of pre-1920 pre-war cars. One of which is a 1911 National. It ran in the first 500, and we have a series of cars coming for that. And then the other big feature we're doing above and beyond all of our vintage classes is we're doing a Formula B race with all Brabhams. And Jeff Brabham, his brother, and Maddie Brabham are hopefully going to come together for a Brabham family reunion. A heck of a show. And I did that feature down in Coda a couple of years back, and to this day it was the best vintage race I have ever seen. It was unbelievable amount of lead changes. Their cars are super competitive, and they're just cool to see a Formula B, all these Brabham cars, and then having Jeff and Maddie, as pilots in the race. So it's on Father's Day weekend's kind of cool.
That will be interesting. And of course, Matt is back in the Indy Lights this year, which is where he should be. And that's good to see him back in open wheel competition.
He is, look, Matty is a special talent. To show you how good a talent, he was racing with his dad at Coda last year in my November race. And Chris Dyson, who ended up being champion for the year, had some personal issues at home and couldn't come to the last race of the season. He had already secured the championship, and it gave an opportunity for Matty to get in our highest level of TA car and turn him loose. And he won the race on the last turn of the race, made an unbelievable pass, and took the game away. And it was a healthy field. He racing against some pretty big names, and he's a get. He's a talent, and he's won my VROC race before. I've watched him virtually drive anything with wheels. He always seems to come out. He's smooth, he's fast, and he takes care of the equipment. He's a good racer. I'll be surprised if he's not right in the thick of things at Indy Lights. And I hope he gets a shot because he's the real deal. He can drive. I will tell you that he can drive.
He's run Robbie Gordon's series and he's won it 3 times. I think the last 3 years in a row, he's won Robbie Gordon's truck series. Well, the kid can drive, there's no question about it.
Yeah, he's a talent.
It's interesting to me that you have in this condition, and a lot of teams are having trouble with sponsorships, but you seem to have been able to overcome that and have added a lot of sponsors to your series. And one of the things you would hope to do, and I don't know if you've accomplished it yet, is you wanted to have enough backing for the series that the competitors didn't have to pay an entry fee. Have you accomplished that yet?
We have to some degree, not completely. My goal is to ultimately not charge entry fees at all. What we do right now is we have featured marks. And when we have a feature mark, sometimes we do a half price entry, sometimes we do $100 entry, sometimes we don't do any entry. It just depends on the racetrack and the time we have allotted in the weekends. I've had, as an example, this race that we're having at Watkins Glen this year, we have a Bugatti feature. Those guys won't pay anything. They pay $100 deposit, so I know they're coming. And then when they take the green flag, if their car is through tech and legal, we give them back the $100. And it's not the 100, it's to just make sure that they're really coming and their cars are prepped right. But you know, the goal is to change the space. But where I'm investing the money now is in other places, not just giving a free entry, but live streaming the races and go out to the world for free. So fans, car show participants, people at the track can watch the race completely around the track for free on their phone. We built a new wireless technology to do the streaming with. The quality is fantastic. We tried to do it on an app. We did a SVRA app, a Trans Am app. And honestly, I was so aggravated with the app stores and the process and the money they were taking off it. I said, the heck with this, I'm going to do it for free. And so we have commercials on the streaming in between races while we're, you know, clearing the track or whatever. That's an entitlement for the sponsors, which helps them. And to put in perspective, we had 50 million impressions on our social media and 3.4 million where engagements where somebody viewed it or forwarded it or commented on it just on our social media channels alone, largely due to the streaming. So this year with us doing it for free, instead of just select features, this will be a great enhancement. It's very expensive. You drop in a film crew for the weekend to video and do the content all in with travel and everything else with a drone coverage and 2 announcers and all the things that we do. It's staggering how expensive it is, but the sponsorship's raised up to the point where it's covering most of that expense. I think by next year, it'll cover it all. And then I'll go back to doing even more discounts on entry fees for the racers. But when I invite a specialized group like this pre-war group that's going to come in to IMS on Father's Day weekend, I won't charge them an entry fee. They're special cars. They'll eat getting the cars there. At least I can do is have them be my guests. It's such an important part of the show that I think the fans will really like it.
If somebody wants to get into your streaming and your social media, how do they find you?
Say it again, Don, I'm sorry.
I said if they want to get into your social media and get into your streaming and see it, how do they do that?
Well, they can just look us up. We have a YouTube channel, Speed Tour YouTube channel. We'll have a link for Speed Tour TV that it's web-based. They can just go to our website and get it. They can watch, we'll have it on Facebook. If they are any way, you know, whether it's on Facebook, YouTube, or our web link, totally free. And then Trans Am, our races for both sides, the unlimited class of TA or the TA2 will have 2 separate 100-mile features at every event, will be rebroadcast in prime time on CBS Sports for the first time within a week of the race. So people can watch it live stream. If they missed it, we'll have replays of the full race. Plus, we'll have dedicated primetime show with behind the scenes stuff, driver interviews, all that good stuff on CBS Sports this year. So they shouldn't be complaining about our coverage now. They'll be able to see them for sure. That's really where I've been focused on investing in to raise the awareness of Trans Am and of SVRA and our Formula Regional Formula 4.
You're accomplishing that, no question. And you said to me when I talked to you a while back that you have increased the size of your staff. Now you were doing everything you were doing with 15 people or so. How high?
We have really grown substantially. You know, I tried to hold the line through COVID and not add people because of the fear of the unknown, but we had such a good year last year. And one of the things we did is we did an arrangement, a 25-year agreement with the SCCA to essentially staff, maintain, and operate SCCA sanctioning of pro racing. So in the past, I used to outsource race control and all the support functions for tech and Black Flag and all the different positions for Trans Am as well as Formula Regional Formula 4. Well, now those are pro motorsports employees. So we can leverage keeping, people can cross functions over the different race series and beyond when they're on the road. They'll work the whole day, but they'll make more money because they're not siloed. They're going to be able to cross all jurisdictions. And it makes the economics for our company much better, but it gives me a way to really control the racer experience. We're investing in special technology for flagging. We put yellow light systems in the cars for these kids that didn't have that in Formula Regional or Formula 4 before. We're investing heavily on that stuff now, and we're doing our own. We're looking at doing our own track cleanup for safety and removal rather than depend on the tracks. We think it can be done faster and better in some cases. So we're all in this. We keep spending, but I'm seeing the company really get healthy and grow. And I think we're doing what we said we would do in spite of COVID and some of the other challenges.
Well, the thing that's interesting to me is your business life. You were very successful. You're in the communications business, and you bought companies that were teetering with collapsing and turned them around. So the business part of it is something that you understand. How much in your previous business world has come with you to run this company successfully?
I think that's a great question. I think, honestly, my philosophy on business has not changed since I was a kid. In the roots of how I do business stems from my upbringing with my father. My father was a blue collar, worked for the local power company in upstate New York guy, but he had such a belief system that if you take care of the company will take care of you. And I have tried everywhere I've been in business, when I was in a position as the company, to take care of the employees with the expectation the employees would take care of us. And that is absolutely the case here with Pro Motorsports Holding for all of our race entities. But I also think the training I got in building systems and visibility to your business so you can change on the fly if things aren't going the way you're ahead of it instead of after the fact. Our visibility in our systems, I think we have the best systems in motorsports, and that's a large reason why we've been able to attract so many sponsors, is because we connect our sponsors with our racing community, whether it's fans, car shows, or actual competitors. We're a vital part of their marketing. And that experience on the telecommunications side, the systems and how we manage people, I think it's in any business, I don't care what it is. I mean, I came in here, I didn't know anything about running a racing business, but common sense, visibility, and sound management practices. I don't care if you're making pretzels or your cars or anything in between, it's all the same. doesn't, or telephones, it doesn't matter. The difference is I'm passionate about my product. You know, in the 30 plus years in telecommunications, I can't think of too many times people call me, Scott, I love my telephone you sold me. I can tell you, I care about racing, obviously, and from when I was a young boy, and to have some effect on the space, hopefully in a positive effect. It's a great way for me at this stage in my career to work on something that I absolutely love and care about. And so it's truly a labor of love.
I have to say, in your career in the telecommunications business, on quite a number of occasions, you were rated in the top 50 companies to work for. A place to want to work, you want to work for Tony Parella and his businesses. I think that says a whole lot about how you run a business and how you treat your employees.
Well, I learned pretty early on, if you really, American business seemed to have evolved from my father's teachings, take care of the company take care of you. I went out to the world before I was in a position to own a company. And that wasn't my experience. You know, I was seeing people getting laid off that didn't see it coming. The communication between ownership or leadership and the employees was lax. It became vogue in American business to, well, cut costs at the expense of employees. And so when I finally got in a position to dictate policy or have a role in leading people in business, I really tried to stay true to my roots and my upbringing. And, you know, it's not easy to do sometimes, but, you know, if you do what you say you're going to do, you communicate with your staff, you're honest with your staff, you follow through with your staff, they will treat your customers the same way. And if your customers are happy and your employees are happy, it's pretty easy to have a successful business. But if that balance gets out of whack, not so much.
Well, I have to say, the events that I've attended, I have gone and listened to your staff. When people are checking in, they come in with a complaint and they're not happy when they leave. They have a smile and they wave goodbye and thank you, and out they go. So your staff does function. And when I ask, I want to come to one of your events, that's one of the things I want to look at, is how the customer, the competitors are treated, and they're treated extremely well and they're happy. That's of course why they come back. They don't get yelled at. They get helped and get solved the problem, whatever it happens to be, and off they go and they're happy and they come back again. So my hat is off to you, even though I'm not wearing one.
We try to get it right. And, you know, we spend a lot of time behind the scenes talking about how we react, how people view us when things don't go according to plan. I mean, when you have 500 race cars on a racetrack in a weekend, another 500 show cars and fans coming in, inevitably something's going to go wrong that you didn't plan for. And how you react, or how our team reacts, is the difference between getting it right or not. And by and large, my staff is just incredible in diffusing when we get it wrong. They have been put in a position where it's okay, use your judgment and handle the situation regardless of the financial consequences the way you would want it to be handled if you're a customer. So if somebody had a bad experience, we did something wrong, we don't question it. We make it right. We try to make it right and understand what we could do to fix it. And sometimes it's hard to do because some folks are tough to please, but you know, and some stuff is outside of our control. You know, I've had my fair share of emails, text messages, and phone calls from folks that aren't happy over 10 years. I try to be as responsive as possible, but you know that we got yelled. If we get yelled at because the bathroom doesn't have a shower, well, I can't build a shower in the bathroom. You know, when I rent the track for the weekend. So some stuff is out of our control, but by and large, oh God, the people are really good and happy. I get so many emails and text messages. I mean, you go to our website and you look at fan mail, there's thousands of text messages or emails or whatever postings of people saying thank you. And that kind of fuels us to keep us going. We thrive on that. It's nice to hear you're getting it right. And in this world, it's almost too easy for people to be negative online or type stuff that's mean or nasty. We get a little of that, but not much. Comparably, I get 10 times, 20 times the positive comments, and that's what keeps us busy and going. And when somebody posts something that they're not happy with and they're fair, I have no issue with that. We make it right. When they, once in a while you get some of these folks that are just cuckoo, and you just do the best you can.
When you buy a ticket to come to your events, you're allowed to go everywhere except the pit area. So I mean, you can go and see the cars, talk to the drivers, talk to the people that own the cars. You have free access to the facility.
Yeah, I think honestly, I think that's what makes coming to our events so special. If you go to the 500, you're not going to be able to walk through the garages for obvious reasons. You can't have 400,000 people parading through the paddock. You come to our event, it's total access. You can walk through the garages, you can walk up to the cars. In some cases, I've seen the drivers put, spectators' kids in the car for selfies or photos. These drivers love their car. They're passionate about their car. They love talking about their car and teaching the kids about them. So we really strive to make it a family-oriented, total access situation. You got to be careful. We have to, watch from a security standpoint, make sure somebody doesn't get run over or do something crazy. But we manage huge crowds, but yet still keep it open to the public, which I think makes it special. And it's a different experience than when you go to some of the other professional races out there. For obvious reason, the scale of their events, it doesn't allow it. And I'm sure there'll come a day where our scale's so big we may have to change our recipe, but as of right now, we've been able to manage the growth and keep it open to the public, which I think is the difference between making this sport special and just like everybody else.
Well, I know next weekend you open up in Sebring.
Yeah, we had a race out in Cal Speedway last weekend. It's a Southern Cal at Auto Club Speedway, but our real kickoff to the East Coast is always Sebring. It's not this coming weekend, the following weekend, and we'll have Trans Am there, IGT, and then the full cast of characters from SVRA, and it should be huge. The entry level is already higher than we've ever had at Sebring, all the way across the board. The pre-sale for tickets look good. If we're blessed with good weather, it's going to be awesome. And for the folks who can't go, they can literally go to the SVRA website or social media or Trans Am website or social media and watch the races for free all weekend long, from Saturday 8 in the morning through 6 o'clock at night, both days. So it's kind of cool. I'm excited that this will be the first time we do 11 plus events like that where there's no cost to fans. And that's my model. I'm trying to make this as fan friendly as possible. We tried the paywall for streaming. It's just I didn't like the experience, so I blew it up. Said no, we're not going to do that anymore. We're going to do it for free.
Well, I know one of your major staff members and yourself are packing as we speak. She's probably packing. You and I are talking. You're leaving for Key West for a few days off, and then you kick off the season.
Yeah, she doesn't have a cushy gig, I got to tell you. She does all the schedules for all 23 events. She's knee deep in all the travel arrangements. She does all the folders for all the waivers and registration for thousands of racers a year. But she's got it down to such a science, and she's a pretty good cook. So I got a good situation. I feel bad how hard she has to work, because without her, she's the glue. and she's just really hits it, and she's always got a smile on her face, which is that in itself is a miracle. But I'm very grateful. We're obviously talking about Kim, but she's fantastic.
I'll give her my best. I haven't seen her in a while, and I'm not happy about it. But Father's Day weekend, she'll be here, and I get to say hello.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
And I want to quickly mention Speed Tour magazine. I promote that every week, and you need to subscribe. It's an outstanding. Pam does a phenomenal job telling you about where you're going and what you're doing and places to visit when you're there. And I mean, it's really, and I keep telling people, some of the drivers you knew as a kid, they're still racing. They're in SVRA racing cars. So come out and watch and read about it. It's a good magazine, top of the line. It's not some cheap rag you find in a grocery store.
Pam has done, it's really evolved. It's been fun to watch her evolve and grow into her role as the editor of this thing. And really, it's her baby. Speed, we started out vintage racing quarterly, but as we evolved as a company, we said, well, this doesn't fit. Created Speed Tour in same format, but every event, every quarter, we do a new car review. We do destinations of where to go around our events. So if people are traveling, they got, destinations to go see in between. And then of course, race coverage on all the events that we have. And it's just been a labor of love. And I don't do any of the text except for I do an interview every quarter to update people in our welcome letter. But aside from that, that's Pam's baby. And it's just neat to see it come together, and it's just another stake in the ground that makes us a little bit different than everybody else out there.
Well, if you haven't got the magazine, I highly recommend it. Just go to svra.com. You can subscribe to it. It comes out quarterly. It's a lot of fun to read. And again, I tell you, some of the drivers you knew as a kid, they're still around. Some of them are behind the wheel of the car. So find out what's going on. Tony, I know you got to get ready. You're going to Key West tomorrow. I'm sorry that you have to suffer like that, but I understand you only had a couple of days off at Thanksgiving and 1 day off at Christmas. You've been working, and it shows in the sponsorship and the way your series is growing. So thank you for your time. Look forward to seeing you on Father's Day here in town, and maybe we'll do a video chat when you're here.
Well, listen, I'm just always grateful to see you and be a part of your show. I hope I'll see you Father's Day weekend at IMS, but thanks for having me on. Thanks for the support all these years. I'm really jazzed to be back. This will be the first time I'm back on Roger Penske's watch. I want this to be buttoned up and really special for the fans and for him. I want him to see what SVRA is all about. We're not having Trans Am this year. We are really hunkered down on the vintage side of it at IMS. I did that by design. I want to get back to our roots for this year and make some tweaks, but we're excited. So I'll see you in a few months. And in the meantime, stay in touch. I'll send you a postcard from Key West, my friend.
Thank you. I used to hold property in the Keys. Unfortunately, I sold it some years back, but I love to go down there. It's a great place. Enjoy yourself. Give my best to Kim. Make sure she gets some nice off time and get her a couple of Mai Tais to enjoy it. We'll talk to you Father's Day weekend.
All right, my friend. See you soon.
Thanks. My guest has been the owner of SVRA, Trans Am, and the regional open wheel series run by Scott Goodyear. We have other guests upcoming, so stick with us. We'll be back again. Again, this is Don Kay saying thanks for watching. Until next time, we'll see you.